So you've been on the weight loss injection and you've lost quite a lot of weight. And now you've hit a plateau and your doctor tells you it's time to start prioritizing protein and doing strength training. But in your head, you're thinking, that sounds really odd because that's not what you did to lose the first bit of weight. So how could that possibly be the thing that gets the next little bit of weight off? That's what I'm going to cover in this video. I'm Trish. I've been coaching for 18 years. I've helped everyone, including people that have had the gastric band, the sleeve, the injection, all sorts. Everyone eventually gets to this point in their journey where the next lot of weight to come off requires a very different approach. And you've probably figured that out, and that's why you're watching this video. The reason why the next part is so different is because up until now, what you've basically been doing is weight loss. So whether you've done the injection or not, we all have to do the old school way of basically eating less calories than we were consuming before. That's what's going to get the first lot of weight off. The issue is, if you're on the injection, what's happening now is your food is staying in your stomach for longer. So you're feeling more full, you've got less cravings, which is great. The issue is, if you were before just kind of eating the same food but less of it, that will definitely equate to weight loss because your total calorie intake has gone down. The issue is you've been relying on a calorie deficit to lose the weight. Now, eventually what happens is you get to a point where you are no longer overweight. Now it's harder to get the fat off because you do not have excessive body fat anymore. When you get to that point, you have to start doing what's called body recomposition. So weight loss and body recomposition are actually two completely different things. Weight loss is just where you want to lose fat. And yes, of course, we want to preserve muscle because we all know muscle is healthy. But eventually you get to a point where it's basically like a non-negotiable. So you have to do what's required to maintain, preserve, and even build muscle, because anyone who gets to the body recomposition phase needs to build muscle to get the next bit of weight off. And why? It's because muscle's active tissue, right? So the more active tissue you have in your body, the higher your metabolic rate, the more calories you burn throughout the day. So that means your calorie intake can actually go up and you're still going to be in a calorie deficit. When you get to that point, it's going to completely mess with your head because without you even meaning to, you've been looking for that hit of dopamine every time you step on the scales and you see that the number's going down, 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 down. So you actually start becoming addicted to that through no fault of your own. It's just something that's happening inside your brain. The next part, though, is you actually have to stop using the scales because when you start working on building muscle, your body's going to become more dense, which means you're actually going to be heavier even though you're physically smaller or even the same size. And when you get to that point, you really have to start to flip your thinking. So body composition or body recomposition isn't just about building muscle and losing the last few kilos of fat. It's also about changing your mindset. And that's why it's so much harder. It's not that you need to do more work. You don't need to take more action, but you really need to change the way that you think, because the way that you were thinking when you did weight loss is completely different to how you need to think when you do body recomposition. So for example, if you do weigh yourself on the scales, that's fine. But if it triggers you, then you need to take away the things that trigger you, because you actually have to start doing the work because it's now a lifestyle, not because of the result. Whereas back when you had excessive body fat, you actually could do it for the result, because when you have excessive body fat, all you need to do is start moving more regularly, making better choices with your food, meal prepping, eating lean proteins and vegetables, less processed food, and so you're not sedentary and you're not consuming excessive calories for the amount of calories that you're burning throughout the day. But once you've got to this point, you'll find that if you're not prioritizing strength training, then what's going to happen is you've got the same metabolism you had before, but you no longer have excessive body fat. I mean, we actually need a little bit of body fat on our body anyway. Some body fat is essential, protects our organs. So we do need a little bit of body fat, but if you want to get rid of the last bit that you don't need, you can't do weight loss. You actually have to start doing body recomposition. It's just a non-negotiable for you now. You have no other choice. And because of the way that your stomach works now, food will stay, if you're on the injection, food will stay in your stomach for longer, which means you actually have less opportunities to put the right nutrients into your body to build muscle. So if you're still, for example, you're still eating what you used to eat, but just less of it, it really means that you now are, yes, consuming less calories, but you're also consuming less nutrients. So you actually have to start changing what you eat as well. Now, you have to work with obviously your fullness levels and your hunger levels. So you can't push food in. But what you do need to do is when you feed, you need to make sure that you're eating the best quality food possible, because you have less opportunities to feed your body in order to build muscle. So in order to build muscle, you need to eat things like first-class protein. So there are different types of protein. Now, if someone has told you, a professional's told you that you need to prioritize protein, it's correct, but there's lots of different types of proteins. What you need to do is basically just choose the best types. Because you have less opportunities, you have to just go to the best. And I'm talking about things like chicken breast, eggs or egg whites, red meat, tofu. And if you're not sure how much to have, as a general guideline, I would say try and get 25 grams of protein per meal. So if you eat 3 times a day, 25 grams of protein per meal. So if you're having chicken, for example, that's going to be around about 110 grams of chicken. Now, what you'll probably find too is that you need to eat food that's easy to digest. So it'll be things like a slow-cooked chicken soup, might be egg muffins, little things like that where the meals are small, they're easy for you to eat, easy to digest, but are also getting the right nutrients into your body. So body recomposition is you get to this point where you actually have to start making better choices with your food. So you can't just look at how many times you're eating or what your macros are, what your calories are, but also what is the nutrient profile of the food that you're eating. So you could say, I'm eating protein because you're having a burger from McDonald's, or you can say, I'm having protein because I'm having a home slow-cooked chicken stew or soup. So the type of protein is going to make a big difference, because a first class protein has got all the essential amino acids in it, but it's also really low in saturated fat. And if you're going to have something sit in your stomach for longer, you want to make sure that there's no fatty food going into your system, because it's going to make you feel really unwell and uncomfortable. And in saying that, yes, you do need to prioritize protein, but it doesn't mean that you should be neglecting good fats and vegetables and fruits and fiber and things like that too. So smaller meals more frequently is probably going to work really well for you. But this is also how people keep the weight off long after they've finish their goal or, whatever medication they're on, is they've worked to build muscle so they have more active tissue in their body. And that's the thing that's going to help the weight come off. And it happened to me too. When I was younger, I've never been overweight, but when I got into my 20s and I got my first full-time job, which was working in an office, I was a lot more sedentary. I was sitting down all day. Plus I had lots of money, so I was buying my lunch every day, and I started putting weight on. So I could feel that my metabolism was shifting. My habits all day had changed. The amount of activity I was doing, which had changed. The amount of calories I was consuming had completely changed, and it was all due to my lifestyle. So I remember thinking at the time, I don't want this for myself. So I flipped it around and started working in the fitness industry instead, but now I'm moving all the time. And I feel so much better for it. But it means that I'm active all day. I'm therefore less likely to reach for the snacks. So eventually you'll get to that point too where you feel like you can do more because you're lighter. You're not carrying around this weight that makes you feel sluggish, that makes you feel lethargic. So you have that little bit more motivation. But what you did before eventually will not work anymore, and you'll get to this point where you feel like you need the next thing, and that's the plateau. And the plateau is, now I need to work on increasing the amount of metabolic tissue in my body, and that comes down to building muscle. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't happen in a few months. It happens over a series of years. What you can do, though, is start doing the right things now so that later on it does become easier. Because all the way back then when I was in my mid-20s, I remember thinking, all right, I'm going to need to start working on whatever's going to help me keep this weight off. Thank goodness I learned about strength training all the way back then, because I started strength training and I never stopped. And now in my early 40s, I know that I can be a little bit more sedentary. I can eat off the plan every now and then, and it doesn't affect me the way it did all the way back then. But that's because of the lifestyle that I built, the fact that I dedicated myself to strength training, always have first-class protein in all my meals. And yes, I still eat off the plan every now and then and have days where I don't eat on the plan at all. I just eat what I feel like, go out for the day and have lunch and things like that. So you can get to that point, but the key is to prioritize your protein, prioritize strength training, Make sure that you're moving every day so you're not too sedentary. So if you do have an office job, you should go for a walk every lunchtime or after work. Go to the gym, walk on the treadmill, do mobility work, stretches, Pilates classes, anything that gets you active, because that's going to help regulate your blood sugar as well. What kind of strength training should you do? Well, I actually think the best thing for you to do right now is probably just full body strength training days. So you go to the gym, you do one exercise for your back, one exercise for your chest, one exercise for your shoulders, one exercise for your legs and bum, maybe one exercise for your core. That's like 5 exercises, right? 2 working sets each. That's going to take you 45 minutes to an hour. You could do it 2 times a week. You do it 3 times a week. And then every time you go, it doesn't really matter what exercise you choose as long as it's something that you can do comfortably. So you could do a chest press machine, or you could do chest press with a barbell, or you could do chest press with dumbbells. What really matters is that you do something to work each part of your body. Now, if you do something like an upper body strength training day and a lower body strength training day, that's fine as well. It's just as effective. But the issue is if you are still kind of getting used to going to the gym, or for whatever reason you every now and then you skip a session because your work is busy or things like that, then what happens is if you miss your leg day, then your workout is actually unbalanced for 2 weeks because you've done upper body twice and leg day not at all. So I think if you're getting into the gym, you're new, you're still building your routine, full body days are the way to go. Plus, when you're training, it's not as fatiguing, because if you do one exercise on your chest, then your chest is resting while you do the next exercise on your legs. So you can actually work with a higher intensity as well, I think, when you do full body days. But I mean, much of a muchness, I've done every style. Like I've done full body days, I've done upper and lower, I've done back, chest and legs, I've done front of body, back of body, top of body, lower body, all sorts. Like they all work. What matters is that you go to the gym and you actually work to try and just grow some muscle. If you have any more questions, please comment below, because I'm going to do a whole series of Q&As. Oh yeah, and I also have a challenge starting soon. So if you'd like to join my challenge, school.com/Trishy. The next one starts on the 1st of September, but we run them all year round. If you'd like to join my community and have me support you to reach your goals, make sure you check it out.